lost my AirPods over Thanksgiving.
Oh no! What happened?
It's okay. I'm like 99% sure I left them at my in-laws' house, but here we are.
So you're using your fancy in-ear
My
ear,
in-ears. My
right?
in-ears. Yeah, fancy.
Your megachurch worship leader headphones.
I like these because they allow me to raise my hands in the air and catch rain. And then sometimes they allow me to like bring them down here towards my waist, and I can like hold loaves of bread. Or sometimes you just like you can do this. Your hands are free, and you hold them against your heart like this, and then that's like you just hold a key to your heart close. You don't know these moves?
This
rain,
is all just
loaves of bread, heart.
amazing. Amazing.
All right, enough banter. Banter's over now.
Welcome to Religion, the podcast. My name is Peter.
My name's Garrett.
This is the show where, oh no, I forgot we have.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Okay. I should have just kept going. This is the show where I screw up the intro every week.
And we talk about
religion.
Oh man, has anyone given us any more reviews? Just out of curiosity. I don't look.
I try not to look at that stuff because, again, that's not really the point. The whole point of this is for us to just continue having the conversation that we've been having over the course of the time that we've known each other, and we're just, letting other people be voyeurs and listen in and sometimes contribute.
Yeah.
Because really, that's what this podcast is, and I think that's why it's still hard for me to define it, is because I'm still not out of the space of this is just me talking to my friend, just like we have for years and years and years. This is a conversation that you and I were having on a regular basis. But not both having grown up in the church and then realized that it didn't really make a whole lot of sense. Particularly when you look at the things that people were telling us in that space.
Yeah, it still doesn't make any sense.
No, it really doesn't. But we've clarified, I guess, where we stand on a lot of this stuff, and that's just part of what is fun about this is fine. I mean, like, for example, we just hit 1 year of the podcast and going back and listening through to the episodes and going, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff in here that I said that I don't even believe anymore because we've like gone through and torn down so much. And I mean, that's what I love about it, is just how much I end up learning, and it's a totally selfish endeavor. So like, welcome to my podcast.
You can review it. We just may not pay attention. That's what he's trying to say.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that was the funniest part about doing the year wrap-up episode, which I think came out, I don't know where we are in the schedule. It doesn't matter. The funniest part about putting that together was just like, exactly what you said. Be like, oh yeah, I don't really buy that anymore. Just like moving on. But that's the fun part is, I mean, maybe we're just more aware, but everyone changes all the time.
Oh yeah.
We're just happening to like record all this and put it on the internet, which has turned into a weird, amazing, like, this is the best journal I think I've ever kept.
Absolutely.
So that's pretty interesting.
In the spirit of that, I thought this was, so I was just doing like a random little bit of digging on Instagram today, absentmindedly, and I always end up stumbling across something that just because the algorithm tends to send me weird occult stuff. I found this quote that someone had done a tattoo of, and like found a Buddhist bodhisattva, which we've talked about before, and like the idea of a bodhisattva is someone who hits the point of enlightenment and like ultimate realization, but doesn't cross over to the other side, and instead stays here with the point of helping other people reach that place.
Right.
So this was a bodhisattva who I believe their name was like Bodhi Devi or something like that. I'd have to like look again at my phone
Okay.
But there's this, they put out this idea that suffering is caused by not embracing change, and that all that enlightenment is acceptance of change. And so really all it is like an
What?
attitude adjustment. So when you live your life in a way that's accepting of change, you've hit enlightenment.
Whoa.
And so it's just like a simplification of that idea that it's like, oh no, this thing that you think you're striving for is actually a graspable thing at any point, but you really do have to just change how you're living to where when change happens, you accept it and you move with it.
Right. I feel like we've talked about different versions of this. Like this shows up in Midnight Gospel at some point, right? Where they talk about how getting really good at prayer or reading your Bible is just playing into the game.
Right.
Like you're just really playing a game. It's not really like accepting a higher state or moving towards a higher state of being, I guess. If you view that as like, I need to just be really good at reading this holy book, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be the Bible. All of it is a game.
Yeah. Because like you can tell yourself that you're really good at spirituality when in reality, when stuff happens in your life that affects you, you get kind of grumpy and upset about it. It's like, well, you're not really living in the spirit of that thing,
Right.
you know. And I think a lot of times there's this like poor idea that like the walking on the path is somehow going to make you happy all the time. I think a lot of times it's more about accepting when you're sad or accepting when you're angry or accepting when there's some other thing that's happening with you, and not trying to like fight against that feeling, but like just watch the feeling, which is what mindfulness is all about.
Right. Just watching the feelings.
Exactly. Our calendar shoots next weekend.
Yeah.
Miss March.
We should sell those. So
Oh,
like
we
the
should. Yes.
15 people that listen to this.
Yes.
It's so funny. At the top of the episode, we're like, we don't care if you listen to this. And then we're like, it'd be cool if you bought a calendar.
So I got someone on my next door is doing a quarantine dogs calendar, like dogs that were adopted during quarantine. And Lucy, my dog, is gonna be one of the dogs.
Which is so funny and awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I never get on Nextdoor. Speaking of neighbors,
That's
I never
horrible.
get on. Oh, never. I deleted it.
Horrible.
I still have Facebook because I like to buy used things off Facebook Marketplace. Otherwise, don't get on it. But every time I log back into Facebook, I see this like neighborhood group we're a part of, which is like our version of Nextdoor, I guess. They like refuse to get on the actual like app or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And it's all this like horrible, sometimes like racist stuff.
Oh, that's really what it's like. It's the racism that's on Facebook concentrated in one app for the most part.
Yeah. I used to be, when I lived in an apartment, at like our apartment, I was like the next door like ambassador for our
Oh, really?
complex. Yeah. They like sent me a postcard and they're like, you should do this in your apartment complex. I was like, yeah, this is cool. And so like I'm the reason it's at the apartment complex.
That's
I brought
funny.
it. So like apologies to all the racism that maybe they're old neighbors. That's not my intention.
It was sad too, because like at the beginning of the pandemic, people were using it to reach out to neighbors and be like, hey, I have a bunch of extra supplies, here you go, let's help everybody out. There was even a person who had like a really, really, really bad experience with some younger kids in the neighborhood, and basically just like wrote how heartbreaking their experience was, and like the entire neighborhood reached out and was like very supportive, and it was just this like unbelievable thing that kind of even like shifted my opinion of what Nextdoor was. And now it's back to this thing where it's a bunch of snooty like rich white people complaining about other people that hop on there to like ask for help, but it's like the whole point of the app is to essentially be like the social media version of like, hey neighbor, can I borrow some sugar or an egg? You know?
No, but
It's
really,
like,
that's what people are asking for help for. They're like, "Do you have a carpet cleaner I can borrow?"
right, and it's like that's a normal
Yeah.
neighborly thing, but for some reason there's like a certain segment of the population who tends to be like rich and white that just doesn't want to participate in the system, and it's like, well then get off the fucking app, like there's no place for you then. And like don't be reporting it, because I mean that's the thing, is that we get these posts on there now where people are going like, all I did was ask for help and I've gotten reported almost every single time.
What's
And
the
it's
new
just,
one that's like the conservative platform?
I don't know.
I don't know. Go join that.
Yeah, whatever that is.
That's how little I care. I'm not even. I'm on my computer right now. I could easily look up and see what that is. I'm not going to. That's how little I care.
Well,
Shall we get into it?
I think that's as good a segue as any to talk about something that's going to upset people.
Do you get upset on Nextdoor? Then you'll love this topic. That sounds like a clickbait headline.
When I sat down to, oh, ma'ams, you're fine. We've talked about this season being different and wanting to just expand out, not stick to the stuff that we've talked about before. Maybe just get like a little bit more out there as far as what we're actually discussing.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because there's still just like a ton of, I mean, it's such an understatement, but there's just a ton of religion I just know nothing about whatsoever. And so sometimes searching for things is like a little bit difficult, and you want to compare everything back over to Christianity to have some kind of like a handle to hold on to when like looking at this other stuff.
Right, because that's like our default.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's what we were raised up in. That's,
Yeah.
you know, it's like the best jumping off point. But I basically just mismanaged a bunch of that, and that's where we ended up with this kind of wacky topic. And just like forewarning, we're about to dive into a bunch of territory that we don't know anything about whatsoever. So just like apologies for everything I'm about to say. You'll understand why. So I was like, all right, let's jump into Hinduism. That'll be fun. Maybe there's,
Oh.
oh, don't get too excited, Garrett. maybe there's like a Hindu prophet. And
Did you do this thing where you were like, oh, I want to get into Hinduism? And then you look into Hinduism, and like 10 minutes later, you're like, there's no way we can talk about Hinduism. You're just like too far deep down somewhere else.
no,
No,
I misspelled Hindu and added an I instead of a U. And so I got Hindi prophets. And so instead of finding anything about Hinduism, I got children's Islamic YouTube programming.
Oh,
in
no.
Hindi. And first being astonished and then going, of course, you know, there would, like, why wouldn't there be?
Right.
And looking at the thumbnail and seeing that the main character was blurred.
It's
And
not
I was
Muhammad,
like,
is it?
why is this, why is this censored? And then I was like, oh, this is probably about the Prophet Muhammad.
Oh, no.
Praise be upon him. So what we are talking about today is why the Prophet Muhammad, praise be upon him, is banned in all depictions.
Interesting. Praise be upon him. Is that
Praise
why
be
we're
upon
saying
him.
that? So we'd
Yeah,
like to cover our
it's
bases.
a respectful thing. It's when you refer to his name, respectfully, you're supposed to say, "Praise be upon him" or "PBUH," if you want to make it shorter.
I can't promise that I'll remember to do that.
Yeah, I can't either.
But I can say at the top that we mean no disrespect.
And
We're just trying to figure it out.
we don't mean any disrespect, and really, that's not even what we're talking about today. So obviously, there are issues with depicting the Prophet Muhammad, praise be upon him, just because, I mean, there are a lot of people that have died over this.
Yeah.
It's not a light kind of thing.
No.
So we're very gonna quickly kind of run through why it is that we don't see depictions of the Prophet Muhammad, praise be upon him, and really, it's actually quite simple. As Christianity started to come up around in the 15th and 16th century, Islam felt the need to distance itself almost completely from Christianity. So one of the ways that they did that was they pushed back on the depictions of any religious figure within that space. Now, what we mostly know as Islamic art is, like, the very beautiful geometrical shapes in their temples, and the kind of like fractal patterning that comes pattern. We're gonna pretend I said that fine. And really, the idea that they're pushing out with by not having any depictions of either God or any of their prophets or anything like that is they don't want for anyone to worship any god but God, essentially. Is that they don't want the Prophet Muhammad, praise be upon him, to be the main figure point of the entire religion.
Right. It would be the equivalent, it sounds like, of, well, us being really into Jesus and kind of getting distracted by, like, God the Father, or distracted away from God the Father, I guess.
You mean how it is?
Well, yeah.
You mean how Christianity is?
But like, that's the point. That's the point of Christianity. Is like you're supposed to like love on the Jesus dude. You're supposed to follow the Christian. Literally means like mini Christ, right? So it's like you're supposed to be like a mini Jesus, and that's how you get access to like God the Father. I'm just repeating what I've been told. You're making all sorts of faces over there, but like, so they're saying, don't show anybody's picture, so like we can stay like all eyes or like all our thoughts focused on like God the Father, basically. Okay, I'm just trying to bring it down to my version.
So before we get into like the and you've already touched on a little bit like the discussion part of this. The interesting thing is that before the Middle Ages, there are depictions of Muhammad. You can Google medieval paintings of Muhammad and see what he looks like.
Okay.
So the idea is that it wasn't, because there's nothing in the Quran about about the depictions whatsoever. But really, the idea is that they wanted to make themselves that different from Christianity in particular. So it's a complete reactionary thing, which I think that's just fascinating.
That's super wild. Also, love that in is old ancient Islamic paintings that sometimes to show someone's enlightened, instead of having like a halo around them or like you see their aura or whatever, they're like on fire. Have you noticed that?
Mm-hmm.
It's sick. It is so cool. It's such a cool visual to see in a painting where someone's like literally like on golden on fire around them.
Yes.
It's sick.
The other thing that's really cool too is when they depict the prophet and censor him in some of these old paintings, they just painted a turban around his entire face.
Okay, sorry, we're getting distracted. Continue on your.
So
This is crazy.
I understand why they did it. Like we're so influenced by symbol structures
Yeah.
as human
Hold on,
beings.
I gotta hold on a second, guys. Ask Katie to turn down.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, we're good. It shouldn't be able to hear.
We're so influenced by symbol structures as human beings. I mean, it's amazing what seeing the McDonald's arches does to you as a human being. It's pretty incredible. But I really wonder what Christianity would look like if we didn't have any depictions of Christ.
Like no visuals or anything.
No visuals at all. Nothing.
No cross symbols.
I think the cross is fine, but no Jesus.
Oh, we'd probably have way more crosses around. I also feel like, in a way, it could be more legalistic. I could see how, like, because that's how it is now. I'm not, with all the rules that we have now, people hold on to those and they turn very like legalistic. So I wonder if like things would just be worse if you weren't allowed to like show a picture of Jesus. Would it make things more rules based?
Yeah. I just wonder if we haven't done a disservice to a Jesus in general. Because, I mean, like, he's more famous than fucking Elvis. I mean,
He died for everyone's sins, Peter. Elvis died on the toilet.
This is true.
Jesus died for your sins.
This is true. But, I mean, Jesus is the most recognizable person on the entire planet and has been for the last 2,000 years.
Yeah, but like white, like.
So I wonder what our relationship to Christ would be if he was more of like a fiery mystic than, this Eddie Vedder looking motherfucker with his sleeves rolled up showing off a tattoo that I have in front of me. I mean, the amount of silly depictions of Jesus are just like when they make him look like this like simple shepherd looking guy with just like the sash around, like he won some kind of like basic prom in Indiana somewhere. It's just, I don't know.
He's doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
His like hands pointing. He's like pointing with one
like
finger.
Little ET. Yeah, exactly.
He's like has the ET finger going on.
Jesus phone home.
Yeah, seriously. He always looks like that. He's very like welcoming. He's always like has his arms open. He's like, "Come here." I do think that over time, if you have, I do feel like over time that if you're allowed to have depictions of someone, I think they lose their meaning. Because the pictures and icons and all that stuff, like the symbolisms, like the meanings change. Think about like the Nazi symbol. Didn't that used to mean something for like peace?
Yeah, I believe it's
something
like it was like a very simple like Buddhist symbol for peace, tranquility.
And then they take someone takes that and warps it into something that's like awful and represents like hatred. And then there's other symbols that have like always represented something that's like hateful. But I do wonder, like, if you can see a picture of Jesus, does it ultimately like change the meaning of like holy writings and like texts and stuff Jesus says? Maybe because you're kind of like interpreting it through a lens of like, oh, white Eddie Vedder Jesus is telling me to do to do this versus like God is. I don't know why I'm stuck on the like getting commands action side of it, but you know what I mean? It's like it does change how you see the source material because you now have all this like visual language to reference from and interpret your spirituality through, religion through.
Right, exactly. I mean, and that's the and I think that trips up Christians quite a bit because, and this is going to sound harsh, but just for like how lovey-dovey Christianity can be, and I'm not saying that there's like a pushover quality that Christians have to them, I would say, especially modern Christians.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because we have these misunderstandings of stuff like turn the other cheek. For like the context of turn the other cheek in modern Christianity is, oh, when if someone hits you, you should just let them hit you again because you're supposed to just like lay down in front of people.
Yeah.
That's like the general idea. But when you look at like the real context of what that was about, is you would essentially be forcing someone to hit you with their hand that they would wipe their ass with, which would be the greatest insult that you could give someone at that point in time. So you're basically saying, try me, motherfucker.
Oh,
Like,
that's what I was gonna say. It's like a challenge. It's not
exactly.
like
Yeah. Turn the
it's
other
like a
cheek
fearless
is, you are gonna fuck yourself up by trying to fuck me up. It really is like, see what happens. Try it.
yeah.
And we like that. That's not at all what we have. Like there's almost nothing in Christianity that's telling you that you should stand up for yourself in a way that is not only clever but almost manipulative in a way.
Oh, yeah. Like that. I think there's another story like where Jesus, they try to like trap Jesus, the religious leaders or whatever, like find a prostitute, and it's where Jesus says like whoever is, blameless or sinless, throw the first stone.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't like a passive thing to say. That was like a middle finger to the establishment, basically being like, well, if y'all are all holy, do it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really what he's saying, is like, oh, if you're hot shit, go ahead and kill this lady, then do it. Go for it. That's kind of like the turn your other chink is like, oh, really? Go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. I bet you won't.
Yeah.
Which is not what we get. I mean, no one wants to talk about, like, to bring it to comparison to, like, to now times. I know there's, like, a lot of the people looting and rioting and destroying property or whatever. It can be very polarizing. Didn't Jesus, like, toss out a bunch of people in his temple and, like, flip tables and stuff?
Yeah.
Like, he didn't kill anyone, but that's, like, a pretty, violent protest. Or it's a non-violent in the sense, like, human lives aren't lost, but, like, I think if you're flipping tables and stuff and beating people up, you're, like, not fooling around.
Yeah, no, I don't.
And no one talks about that.
Again, I don't think we have a good handle of what Jesus was really about. And
well, maybe that's the problem, is because we see him all the time and we just think he's like safe like sort of hippie Jesus. That's like he has long hair, but like he's safe.
You're right.
Real
Right. He's the Lamb
non-threatening.
of God. So
Yeah.
peaceful.
So maybe that is why we like. Maybe the having like banning someone's depiction or like their imagery is kind of a good thing when you think about it, because it keeps Jesus at like this concept level. Whereas if you have depictions of him, it gets into like the imaginary, made up space because we don't really know what he looks like. I've seen that, like he's probably like not white. He wasn't white. We know that. Like it was definitely like an Arab, Middle Eastern person, and I've seen pictures of how they like pieced together his face or whatever using AI. It's not a white dude. I don't even think he had a beard in that picture. But I think that by banning pictures, it sometimes like keeps keeps those ideas like what Jesus was about like really grounded, because we never allow ourselves to like get it to that fantasy version of Jesus that we somehow start to reference as like the real thing.
Well, like think about how you treat someone differently when they have like an eyebrow piercing. You know? Like
What?
you see someone, you talk to someone and you notice they have an eyebrow piercing and you go, "Huh." And there's something else that starts to factor in there. And it's just like it's an automatic kind of like based on your life experience with people with eyebrow piercings that can shift and change your interaction with that person.
Right. I have experienced this firsthand with having tattoos that people assume.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Old people mostly. Young people don't care. Everyone's tattooed, but old people look at me like I'm a drug dealer or something.
Mm-hmm.
I have very tame tattoos on my arm. It does make sense. I mean, I think that's the thing though is, yeah, maybe they're onto something by like blanket statement saying don't depict like Muhammed, just speak the blessed be his name or whatever.
Give Jesus an eyebrow piercing.
Well, no. I mean, do you know how insane it would sound now to be like us, like painting over Jesus's face and be like, it's for your own good.
I know. We make a call to start censoring Jesus.
Yeah. I do wonder sometimes if we've lost that, and maybe this is a Western Christianity thing, or maybe just the Christianity that you and I kind of grew up in. Like when we were in Thailand, you couldn't just like turn around on Buddha, even if you're not Buddhist. If you go into a temple, and you're standing next to Buddha and you face him, you have to like step back a little bit and then turn around.
Right.
You're like reverent to him, and like everybody is kind of expected to be like play by the rules in a way. I kind of see the value in almost like protecting the reverence of something. I also think the extreme version of this is like, in that French magazine, didn't like people shoot
Charlie
up
Hebdo? Yep.
Yeah, it's like that's the other side of this is being like, well, don't do that.
Well, I mean, one of the interesting things that I found out in while doing research for this is there's a whole sect of Islam that has depictions of the Prophet. No problem with it.
They just don't care.
They just don't care. Yeah. But I think it really, because of Islam's contentious relationship with Christianity, it was almost like who was more pious in a way.
Oh. That doesn't sound very fun right now.
No. I mean,
maybe because I personally don't want to be pious, so it's not like the idea of being holier than someone sounds kind of awful.
Yeah, and I mean that's I mean, because I mean, the Christians did come down and kill a whole shit ton of people in this same era. So like you know you get it, you understand. Like the Crusades were not a good thing.
No.
That I think we really should do like a long series on the Crusades. Like read a couple books about it and just like dig
You
into
really
that whole
should.
thing. Because I think
I
that
don't
would.
know anything about the Crusades other than that it was like bad news. A lot
Yeah.
of people died.
I think it would be. I think there's probably a couple good sources out there that we could find. But I think that'd be really. That would give so much interesting context to just like the horrible, horrible, horrible parts of religion, because like you and I love to find the little tidbits here and there, the little golden nuggets that are very sweet and applicable to your life. But you know, this could also be like a true crime show with the amount of fucked up stuff that has happened in the name of religion. That maybe
so
we
much
almost need to
stuff.
have like a true crime themed religious episode like once a month. That's just like the the dark side of religion to a T. I mean, you did that kind of naturally with a couple episodes last year.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't even gotten. I mean, that's the thing is like if you want to, like, if you really want to get into the weirdness, like I've started digging up some like Westboro Baptist stuff for this show,
Ooh.
and it's like, what are they reading? I mean, that's kind of what you get to is like, how are y'all picking this up? Like, are we reading the same book? I wonder if like that's how a lot of people feel when they're just, you know, you share the same religion as somebody, but someone can be like so hateful that you're like, what are you smoking that like causes you to interpret this out of it? I don't know.
Right.
It makes no sense to me. But yeah, you can deep dive into like, oh dude, like Catholic Church stuff is pretty rough. Like there's all sorts of crazy ways that you can take this true crime, like, or you know, where religion gets it wrong is often. You can get a little wild with it. What do you think? Do you think that like we should be banning pictures of prophets and saints and that sort of stuff, or what?
I think you can't put it back in the bag, obviously. I think the damage is probably done. But that being said, the more you can decondition yourself away from the visual of a figure that you respect, I think that's much better. You know, I think the more you can stay away from guru worship and that sort of thing, the better it is for you ultimately. I think there can be an appreciation of spiritual teachers and spiritual leaders, but I think it's just like it's really easy to just fall into the trap of like, I really like this one specific version of Jesus that I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna be like, he is the shepherd and like I'm in his flock and he has his little curved staff and we're just walking through the fields and the pastures together and I dwell with him and all is well and everything's fine. And it's like, all right, do your thing, but like that doesn't quite match up with like the guy that was like shoving demons into pigs and casting them off like the edge of cliffs and doing deals with the devil out in the desert. Because like, let's be honest, that's what was going on with that temptation shit. That was him like doing fucking shadow work with his demons like way out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's like, there's an idea that that's when he got activated, was after his time with Satan, while he was fasting, that was like when the Holy Spirit actually came over Jesus. And that's, when he was like really digging into all of his shit and headed towards the ultimate thing. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah. I think there's something to this that, or you're right. You can't go back, but it's maybe just something to be like really mindful of. Like
It's just like remember that you feel shitty almost every single time that you go and eat McDonald's. I think that's a pretty universal thing for everybody,
right.
is that it's not that great after the fact, but think about how revved up you get headed into that experience. Just kind of like take your own pulse going into something like that and really dig into the idea that like those golden arches make you feel so much nostalgia, particularly if you went there as a kid, which I think pretty much everybody did. I mean, I know my grandparents, like, that was like their thing, is they would take me to McDonald's when I was here in the States. And like, I didn't grow up in America and I had that experience.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good idea. I think that's wise. It's just to think like, all right, am I really paying attention to this person for who they are? Or am I like more in love with the idea that I am like what this person's actually like saying?
Right.
Because some of the stuff Jesus says is really hard.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure I don't really know, because that's my job, is I need to like learn. I don't really know what Muhammad said. I'm sure some of it is really hard. And so maybe by like not focusing on him so much, it actually allows you to kind of focus on more of like what he's telling you to do or advising you to do, or like command, whatever. Like you're paying attention to what they're saying and doing, not who they like are they as a person or what they look like.
Right. Well, I mean, that's even like that. That's the difficult thing about, because I mean, look at someone like Osho, who I think a lot of people got a lot of benefit out of the things that he said, but he also like radicalized a bunch of white people,
right?
And like getting guns and shit,
Yeah.
Also, like the sexual. I mean, the guy who was responsible for bringing hot yoga over to the United States was said that women would spend $1 million for a drop of his cum. Like, that's totally real. That's totally real. That's who that guy really was. But they're he's. I mean, think about how many people's lives have been changed because of the like absolutely incredible medical benefits of hot yoga. It's a proven thing, and I mean, I almost wonder if we have the teenager years of Jesus left out on purpose, because it might have gotten a little weird, I'm
just imagining like teenage Jesus like smoking. His dad's like, "When are you gonna get a job?" He's like, "I don't know. I'll be back later." And he like leaves for really long periods of time. Lots of angst. He listens to music in his room like really loud. Oh God.
I like the idea of Jesus accusing his mom of being a whore.
Now we're definitely pissing people off.
Oh no, yeah, for sure. All right, I think see, okay, that's how we're gonna wrap it up right there. That is a perfect example of we just took whatever the hell we wanted and projected it over the top of the most famous human being that's ever existed on the planet, probably. I mean, can you name someone else more famous than Jesus? I don't think so.
Michael Jackson, maybe. He sold more albums.
This is true. Okay. Well, and this is really going to offend people, but like Jesus might be as problematic as Michael Jackson.
I don't know. I watched that documentary like Jesus didn't have like secret rooms in your house. If you have secret rooms in your house, come on now.
Okay, I take it back. But again, you can make the singing, dancing corpse of Christ, do whatever kind of Irish jig river dance that you want. That it's just like we can turn anybody's image into a puppet.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something to be like really mindful of. It's like, are you getting the real thing or are you getting the puppet?
That's great. All right, we're gonna end it there, y'all. That's perfect.
Cool. Hey, thanks for listening, y'all.
Thank you for listening. I hope.
And
I hope I just want to throw it out there for everybody. I know Thanksgiving, Christmas, it's all like a weird season, and anybody that's feeling kind of lonely out there, just know that there are plenty of other people that also feel the exact same way, and that it's just a season, and that nothing's forever.
Yeah, you can always talk to us on Instagram.
We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Dude, thanks for coming up with this awesome topic.
Absolutely.
It got me thinking about, like, I don't know if I have an answer as to, like, what is the way to go, but it's got me thinking. That's all that matters.
Hell yeah. That's perfect.
Love it.
All right, y'all. We'll see you next week. Talk to you soon.
Jordan or Colt?
Bye.
Bye.